there's people who are like actors. You think you know who they are, but sort of they're internally hidden. So there's sort of like an anonymity with the facade of who they are. It's like, oh, I know Hugh Jackman. I've seen him in a bunch of movies. Seems like a cool guy, but I've never, really
like the real life, like him as Wolverine as opposed to the actual man that is.
Yeah. So there's ones like that where it's, I think there's a difference between those two. Like it's like they're both hidden in a way, but one is doing it through, completely non-physical means. So he's the dude who there's no attachment of the persona to the body, and then there's another one where there's an attachment, but it's almost like a wrong attachment in a way. Maybe that's not so much as anonymous, but it's still there.
Well, and that's why I was going back to the definition, right? Of like, anonymous is like untrackable, unsearchable, all that sort of stuff. So I guess an actor, it would be like on a scale of truly anonymity. Well, no, because you know exactly who that person is and where they are and whatnot. But maybe their personal life is anonymous. To the everyday user or viewer. Yeah,
for sure. The other one that I had was anonymity in the playing crowd. So this is where you are a supporter of maybe you're a fanatic of your Socceroos team or whatnot. So you go to the stadium and you're one of 75,000 people packed in there. You're all roughly dressed in the same colors and stuff. There is a type of anonymity in the crowd. You're hidden in the crowd. You're just a member of the mob, I guess.
I feel like that's a stretch too far with anonymity.
Yeah.
I feel like the reason I say it's a stretch with anonymity is like, well, I could challenge that and be like, well, you can get if you're a supporter of a team or whatnot, you get a direct email with your name there, and they're using data that's being pulled up. They know it's you. They know when you go through with a ticket, and they know you're there. I think there's a feeling of being lost in the crowd, but I think you're stretching the definition of what anonymity is there. Yeah. I think there's a feeling of being part of the crowd, but if you were to act out in a weird way, you're still not anonymous in that scene.
Depends, I guess. If everyone breaks the rules, then you're sort of hidden in numbers.
Like, in what way do you think you'd be anonymous in a crowd?
So, one, I guess the crowd, this has happened all the time in like India and places like this, and I'm sure in Australia and other countries where girls or there'll be like unwanted sexual activity directed at like females or something, and it's guys who are just part of this crowd, this mob, and it's sort of like we can do whatever the fuck we want here. So I maybe you're correct. Maybe the outcome is not the same as someone on Twitter. Like maybe you could find that person out with 20 minutes of effort, but there's a feeling at least that's generated of being.
Yeah, I think that there's a feeling of anonymity, but I don't think that there actually exists anonymity in that space or in that event. Like if you're in front of other human beings, I think the level of anonymity is very low. Again, it's like similar to the actor. Like they don't know who you are as an individual and whatnot. So it'd be the same thing as an actor, but just even less because I don't know exactly who you are. But you're not certainly anonymous. Like if someone had to say what you look like or what you're doing or what you're acting or can you be found, I think all of those things are possible, like within realms of possibility for sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess it's not too different from just a random dude punching you on the street. And it's sort of like, well, he's anonymous just because you don't know who he is. So,
well, yeah, and I think and I think the reason I'm being selective with it as well is to be clear. Cause I think the question can get broadly asked, and I think you could get some results of being like, should we be more anonymous or not? And then people being like, yes, we should be more anonymous, and then being clear and being like, well, it doesn't mean being more anonymous is like, I guess a facade type of deal. It's that plus a whole host of other things that then would have to actually take place for it to be actually more anonymous, or else you're just it's just what you feel, but not in the reality of anonymity that's actually occurring as a system.
Yeah, okay.
So I would see it differently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good one. The other one I had was actually sort of the opposite of that, anonymity in the unique crowd. So, everyone is dressed up weirdly or like in bizarre patterns, but it's still, I think you made a good point there. All right, daily life. I got a question for you. Why are certain things too dangerous and no anonymity is allowed? So these are things like passports. I can't access another country unless I have a passport. Banks and money, KYC. I can't get a bank account unless they have all of these details about me.
Yeah.
Why are these particular things, there's no anonymity allowed? Why that?
Well, I think that there's a double from. One, because as a government states and big powerful corporations, it does them good to know exactly a lot of the details that you have for proving who you are, ensuring you're not being hacked by somebody else through whatever means possible. Obviously, it makes it easy for you to be taxed, to be tracked, and all those things, which some people view as a negative. But from a government's perspective or a corporation perspective, they see you as either just a statistic or a set of data that they can leverage. So from them, there's benefits in you not being anonymous. There's leverage in that.
Yeah.
I think in the opposite though, as well, there is benefits to you not being anonymous. So in the case of, we'll compare it directly with crypto. If you go right now and own a digital wallet, not all digital wallets, but there are some digital wallets which don't have KYC set up, right? So you could have set up some of these wallets, move things into there, and almost for all intents and purposes, you are pretty anonymous. Like for people to pinpoint that is your wallet specifically could be quite hard, right? Could be quite hard. If you go then and lose it, or someone hacks you, or something like that, what are you going to do? You're going to call the cops? You're going to call the taxation office? You're going to call whatever? They're going to laugh in your face and be like...
The OTO I've been bagging out for the last 2 years, they'll come in and...
But what is going to happen is tough shit. Nothing's going to happen. Like, no one can do anything because, well, you're anonymous. So how can we even prove, one, that it was you? Two, what are they going to do to trace this down? It's anonymous. So there is benefit in a passport or in a credit card or something to do with a bank that you are tracked. So then if somebody tries to hack you or is utilizing it, we can actually pinpoint that down, lock it down, and make sure that you're safe. So there's some inbuilt safety features of actually not being anonymous.
Yeah. So I guess the question then is, why is Bitcoin so popular? It's part of it's because of the anonymity. Part of it, there are a whole lot of Bitcoiners out there who are ardent, desperate fans in a way, like their aficionado is at extreme limits.
Is it a fan of anonymity?
It's part of it. There's other things attached to Bitcoin.
See, and I think this is where I would go back and be like, that doesn't make a lick of fucking sense, because as a blockchain, it is on transactions there forever. Like it's like, you can see that transaction forever, and you can go trace it down.
Yeah. I'm talking about the you can see a transaction and it's not linked. Like I can make things.
But you could. But you can. As soon as you're interacting with the normal system of society as we know it right now, you could track down any address down to KYC from not you or me, people out there. You better believe they're going to be able to do that.
There's what I mean, where like the 20-minute rule. Can that, if I gave you a transaction, could the government find out within 20 minutes?
I think they could. I think a well-organized government. I think a shit government's probably not going to do it. If they got the right data sets and the right communications, sure. Like the data would be available. There is, I think and this is why I was saying it, I wonder if maybe people confuse anonymity with decentralization. Because they're two different things. Like to be using, say, any type of cryptocurrency and be decentralized in the sense that I'm not connected to your fiat money. Is that the big bonus for people? Maybe, look, dude, who's going to be listening to this? There's going to be some people listening to this who are well more informed than us in crypto and probably can give us some boosts about this in particular if you have it. But, that is a more powerful thing because you might know it, but it's not like you can do shit about it because I own this and you can't tell me that I've got to bring all my gold in, right? So what happened obviously in the US back in the 60s or 70s, whenever it was, when they asked everybody, you have to bring in your gold in so you can do the blah, blah, blah. Can't do that with Bitcoin. Like I own it. I own my own coins. I own my own, keys, etc. It's not anonymous per se because you could go trace it down and be like, I can see that address that you made and this address here, and you made that exchange out and you got your money out from that way. Oh yeah, we can trace it through and we can see that that's you. But what are you going to do about it? It's still decentralized. I still own it. So I think that doesn't link, like there might be some levels of anonymity at like that 20-minute rule maybe, but you can definitely like break down that away as long as you're interacting with a normal system. You can certainly become like really anonymous.
I was just going to say, if that was the case, why didn't they catch, the Silk Road dude for all those times beforehand? Because they would have had transactions that they knew were fucked up. Why couldn't they pinpoint him? Why did it take years and a huge sting operation and shit like that?
Why don't they do that with existing bank accounts? Same thing. Why did it take for the Panama Papers to get released for them to be able to trace down the people who were moving money around all these different trust structures and whatever, to then be able to, it has to be exposed for them to be like, oh shit, people are moving all this money. Dude, they're doing it in the current system as it is. Well, I think it's current system of crypto, you're going to be able to do it, like hide it away, even though it gives you those transactions. So you could build anonymity to the, like almost create a pseudo person that utilizing whatever structure, and then you become anonymous because it's like, oh, well, it looks like, I don't know, it's some Ugandan kid moving around millions of dollars, but it's actually some other dude doing whatever.
Okay, so you're sort of saying like the appeal of anonymity in crypto isn't really that much because you could just get just as much of that in the current system if you wanted. Is that?
No, I would say maybe you can find more in crypto.
I mean, I would say
definitely you could
probably, for example, like that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. Like I think you can find more.
Is in the privacy.
I think that to believe that cryptocurrency is like, oh, it's an anonymous thing, is to absolutely kid yourself. I think that there's other things which are present that probably give the illusion of anonymity. Like me having cryptocurrency, maybe it leads you to believe it unless like it's not cash in a bank. So I am anonymous in the way that I'm holding it. But you better believe your ass, as soon as you interact with the normal systems, you're going to be known anyways. Like it's not like they're not going to know. But you can have ways. There are points in time, I think, that you would be anonymous if you just shell yourself away.
Maybe the default is more anonymity, at least.
Maybe. Yeah. But I think in particular, like I was thinking your question was saying, like,
Well, look, the reason I brought it up was there's plenty of, I could list, like a bunch of Bitcoiners who I've watched podcast videos of, and they have chosen to, black out their screen and it's only their voice that's coming through now. Immediately I just thought like, God, that's not that great, voice stuff that you could probably find out who that is pretty quickly as well nowadays, but whatever. There's definitely just an appeal for people with crypto and particularly Bitcoin from what I've seen, for like the anonymous part of it is a big boon for them. It's not everything, but so yeah, do with that what you will. I agree. The other thing that like popped into my mind was the conversation of like whether anonymity would be a good or bad thing, right? More of it or less of it. And I kind of go, maybe let's just look at one extreme. Let's just say we start a civilization or settlement in Mars, and you've got two different base camps, right? Far enough from each other you can't see each other, and you can communicate in that structure within that little camp. Let's say 100 people, and you all see each other, you interact, you talk. Like there's no anonymity really. Like there's probably some levels of it, but it's like normal society. But you only interact with the other civilization, the other settlement in Mars, purely by, some form of text or email or messenger or something like that. But it's complete anonymity. You don't know who's at the other end. You don't know who you're talking about. You'll never be able to see them, call them. It's just purely like through a text message. To me, straight away, I feel like there's more, I would err towards the side of that you would build better relationships with the people that you're living with, than the people that you're probably not seeing and that are just only messaging. But also there could be a tendency, I would believe, that you would find more reason to disagree or hate on someone on the opposite side than you would the people that you start knowing or being less anonymous to. Now, I think there's a lot of other things that would include there. Like that would probably coincide, being like living with people and stuff like that. But maybe if you even brought it down to just like one person, like there's two people in Mars, one on different sides, you were completely anonymous to each other. I think the limitations that exist there are such that having such anonymity
takes away from the human-to-human interaction and from really getting to like the good stuff in life. So for me, I would say from that type of reasoning, I think I would tend to go towards maybe less anonymity is best.
Okay. Would you ever do business or be best friends with someone who is completely anonymous? Do you think?
I think I would, and I'll say it in this way, because I think if we hark back to my story about Dapper Dinos, for all intents and purposes, I did send cryptocurrency to the tune of 0.28 ETH, which, however you cut, it's roughly about $1,000, right? 1,000 Australian dollars. I sent that to somebody who I only knew their Discord name for a promise of them to send me something. I had never interacted with them before, aside from through texts. And I did trust that person. I think there was some level of trust that was built, whether it was in that community or just in messaging. There was trust there. So I think it's happened once. I think I could
easy one to answer.
I could definitely get it to happen again. Do you think that you would? You could?
Completely anonymous. I think I would struggle to form like the deepest bonds. To really, to trust someone with a bank account, or like, hey, can you do like this really important thing to me?
Okay, here you go. Could you trust, if someone was completely anonymous, do you see yourself getting to the point that you could give them your keys? For whatever reason?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. I wouldn't see I don't do that with my family anyway. Like I've levels, so yeah, if I die, I was actually chatting with my brother about this last night. If I die, these are the steps you need to take to get
my keys. Yeah,
but they're hard to do. Like he won't be able to do that.
Yeah, but your brother's just going to laugh because it's going to be like, oh, I just had Ada and Ada will have gone to zero by then. So
exactly.
It'll be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's just like...
it's just nothing anyway.
Kyron's choices are pretty poor anyway, so who gives a fuck? It's better off, like, the time he spends not listening to me is better off...
It's better off spent.
Than to even attempt, yeah. Okay, general rules. So your general rule was sort of more anonymity is like a worse thing. Like it makes things worse. I had one which was I'm more of a like a free all things are acceptable sort of guy. So I said I think the option should be there either way, and this is particularly me thinking about systems being built. So the system of the governance in Australia, of how to vote, of interacting on Twitter, of being on a Discord and sending through people money or whatnot, whatever it is. There's always people creating those ones. Even for us on our live stream, would we prefer anonymous people in the chat or people who we actually know? Yeah, I think the option should be there either way, but almost like there should be costs to encourage the type of behavior you want. So if you're on, if you create a Twitter and you notice, people are behaving worse when they're anonymous, okay, you can join Twitter by not linking your account through email, and you don't have to provide your name, you don't have to put in your passport photo or anything like that, but there should be a cost for that. You either have to pay it with reduced privileges, perhaps online, maybe you're restricted from saying certain words or things like that. So it's sort of like that layer sort of thing. So the more you provide, maybe in this case, the more you provide, the better your experience gets on there. And this also encourages better behavior for what you want to see. So you're Jack Dawson, you're like, these guys are sending really nice things to each other. They're connecting via the other side of the world. They're doing business. And it's because they're more open and there's a name attached to it. Great.
I will say Jack doesn't give an absolute shit about it now.
Well, not anymore, yes. Yeah, you're correct. But what if it's maybe, the opposite side of this, people who are doing a survey and they're like, we're doing the survey. We would prefer people to be anonymous, but okay, they can provide these details if they want, because maybe there's an incentive to be like, I took a firm stand against this sort of thing. So let's say it's a vote. So I took a firm stand against this. They prefer the anonymous people because maybe they say more true things. and there's more grandstanding when you have your name attached to it, and it's like, oh, look at me, I'm in this camp, and you get brownie points for that. But yeah, maybe you have to pay for that privilege. Maybe you have to pay
I like that. I do like that.
Bitcoin to be able to say, look, I voted this way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, my sort of thing is a general blanket statement of it's good or bad. Yeah, once again, like even just from the pros and cons, it seemed like I could just switch it whatever way
very
I wanted.
Well,
thinking of the situation.
Here's one for you. Could you see it yourself ever posting, putting out information anonymously?
Me? Yeah. I think there's some ones. Now, for me personally, I could. Yeah, I think I could. What exactly it would be, I'm not sure, but just things like authors. So, George Orwell. That's not his real name. His real name's Eric Blair. But he used that pseudonym, and it was allowed him to remain anonymous, and there was reasons for that. But I can certainly see the positive aspects of it in certain cases. So yeah, I would say, yeah, potentially I could someday see myself releasing something. Maybe it's because the meme orders blow up or uber famous, and it's like, I want to talk about this thing, but I literally can't because
you're gonna get wrecked for whatever reason.
Get absolutely wrecked.
So when the Mere Mortals podcast is getting trillions of views per year, and we need to and then you all of a sudden see this podcast come up called like the
it's like
the gods,
mortals, or it's like what's the opposite of mere mortals?
The lowly gods.
Erum Slortum or something like that.
Yeah. We'll be like, and you'll see it pop up, and it's just like, it looks like us. We're in the same room, but it's just like with a mask on the front of it, and be like, change our voices slightly. We'll never know. You'll never know. I'll never know.
I'll have a wig on, and people will be like, "Fucking look at that handsome dude, solid hair. That's awesome." C Brewer jumps in. We actually lost quite a few people because the live stream cut out. So.
Good. I love being anonymous to all of our followers. So they can't even find us.
Yes,
we tried that out. We were actually trialing it at first. We were trying to see what would happen actually if we just didn't even put it out live, and the answer is no one could listen to us. So well done. We were truly anonymous for a couple of minutes today.
So we got C Brewer here. He says slippery slope sounds a lot like the social credit score too. I can see that. I can definitely see that. So I think it's how it's implemented, probably based on the history of like the last 20 years and technology. It's been going too far the way of making things non-anonymous, so everyone knows everything. So probably we're due for a correction of going back down into the and that's probably what the sort of maybe like part of the backlash against cryptos is the people in charge are realizing like, oh shit, these people are anonymous. We don't know what they're doing as much as
again. See, I would disagree. I'd say it's less the anonymous, it's the control. Yeah, and control and anonymity is, I think, there is some links.
They could tie.
There is some links.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of the Mere Mortals Musings. So this was on anonymity. We've got some meanderings coming up. You better believe it. And from your two favorite anonymous posts over here.
I'm sure we'll tell you how we talk about it in meanderings about the absolute run around that we had around it.
That's coming up. Yeah. So get tuned for that. As mentioned before in the middle of the episode, we really do appreciate your support, sending it in. Once again, I'll be talking a bit about different ways you can support us in that episode. So I'll keep this one brief. But the thing we enjoy most are boostagrams coming in. So this is sending a portion of Satoshis in this case through to us with a message attached to it, going into your new favorite app, because you might have an app and you're like, oh, this is kind of good, and then you realize, holy shit, I can send the Mere Mortals some tasty boostagrams,
some boost,
and be part of the show, be part of the loving and the funness. So you would go onto a new app, newpodcastapps.com. There's a bunch there: Breeze, Fountain, Podfriend, Curiocaster, Podverse. I believe you can on the desktop. Castomatic. There's a bunch of them right there. So go onto any of them, send us some Satoshis, and we really do appreciate it. Helps the show continue for the future. And thank you, Mr. Onion Jr. Vudi as well. Thank you to everyone who jumped on the chat. We really do appreciate it for providing the content and joining us to learn more about anonymity. Nuaj.
Yeah, Nuaj.
Nuaj.
Yeah, Nuaj.
Take us away, please.
All right, folks, that's it. Me Immortalites, Nuaj out.
Nyrik out.
Good.
End stream.